Good morning, students. Today we will learn about mastication. I am going to explain this topic under the following headings. First is importance of mastication. Why we have to know about mastication. What are the muscles that are helping for mastication? What all constitute chewing cycle? And how to control mastication and what are forces of mastication? Mastication is a process in which food items are held in between the teeth, the intercuspal position of opposite teeth, and this will be chewed properly. If any food is out of intercuspal position, then tongue has to play a important role to move the food into the intercuspal position. Then it will be chewed properly and moved into the oral cavity as a soft bolus, which will be easy for the deglutition. Mastication is the first movement in the digestive tract. This process is slightly a complex one which you have to imagine and understand. What is the importance of mastication? Normally we take different kinds of foods, hard foods, raw foods, soft foods, and some of them are drinks also. See, these larger pieces of all these kinds of foods that has to be broken down into different small pieces. So all these small pieces will have a greater amount of surface area to get exposed to the digestive enzymes. So the rate of digestion is dependent on the total surface area of the secretions. Then some of the like fruits and raw vegetables, they have an undigestible cellulose membrane that must be broken down before the food is chewed. Then to be mixed with the saliva thoroughly to lubricate and moist, especially the dry foods. So that makes the small soft bolus which will be easy for the deglutition. So this mixing of saliva is very important here for the appreciation of taste. The saliva has to flow onto the surfaces of the papillae and onto the trenches of the circumvallate papillae for the perception of taste. That is very important. So for this complex process to happen, there are many things that are helping here, especially the major contribution is from the muscles of mastication, then is the tongue, then is the reflexes that are present around the tooth and on the muscle spindles which will initiate the senses. So let us know this complex process step by step and let us understand it in a bit easier way. Muscles of mastication. These muscles, they power the or they will initiate the jaw movements during chewing and speech. These are attached to the skeleton, skull bones. Then these are voluntary muscles. Whenever we want to chew, whenever we want to move, only the jaw can be moved with the help of muscles. So these muscles are concerned importantly with the movement of the mandible in mastication or masseter, temporalis, median pterygoid and lateral pterygoid, and there are some other supplementary muscles also that we will know later. Here we can see muscles of mastication. In the picture A you can see fan shaped temporalis, and there is a muscle that is attached at the angle of the mandible, masseter, and there is a supplementary muscle that is important here is a buccinator which is present in the cheeks. Then in the picture B you can see some of the some amount of mandible that is cut and removed from there, and the masseter muscle is pulled away. Then you can see inside the insertion of medial pterygoid muscle in the medial surface of the angle of the mandible, and you can see a part of lateral pterygoid that is attaching in the concavity that is present just below the head of condyle, and some part of it gets inserted to the temporomandibular joint capsule also. So here we can see different kinds of masticatory muscles here, and you can see the lateral pterygoid and medial pterygoid insertion portions in the posterior view that you can see there, along with other areas of the muscle insertions and origins. Masseter. It is a quadrilateral muscle that covers the lateral surface of the mandible. It has three layers: superficial, middle, and deep. It is a multi-pinnate arrangement of fibers for the masseter. The origin and insertion of three fibers. The superficial fibers take origin from the anterior two-thirds of the lower border of zygomatic arch and zygomatic process of maxilla, and these fibers run downwards and backwards at 45 degrees angulation. They get inserted to the lower part of lateral surface of the mandible. The middle fibers take origin from the anterior two-thirds of deep surface and posterior one-third of the lower border of zygomatic arch, and these fibers run vertically and even downwards. They will get inserted to the middle part of ramus of the mandible. The deep fibers take origin from the deep surface of zygomatic arch, and all these fibers are separated by an artery and a nerve. And the deep fibers get inserted to the upper part of ramus and coronoid process of the mandible. Temporalis. It is a fan-shaped muscle which fills in temporal fossa, take origin from the temporal lines that are present there. It is a bipinnate appearance. Then it takes origin from the floor of the temporal fossa except zygomatic bone and temporal fascia. And these fibers converge below, becomes a tendon and passes deep into the zygomatic arch. So these gets inserted into the coronoid process at the tip and medial surface and on the anterior border of the coronoid process, and also in the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible. Lateral and medial pterygoid muscles. Lateral pterygoid is a short and conical muscle which has a upper and lower heads. Medial pterygoid is a quadrilateral muscle which has superficial and deeper heads. So the upper head of the lateral pterygoid will take origin from the infratemporal surface and crest of greater wing of sphenoid, and these fibers run backwards and laterally to converge for the insertion. So they converge at the depression in the front of the neck of the mandible and partly to the capsule and articular disc of the temporomandibular joint. Even the lower head will get inserted there. But the origin of lateral head is from the lateral surface of lateral pterygoid plate. Medial pterygoid muscle. This has superficial and deeper head. Superficial head take origin from the tuberosity of the maxilla and adjoining bone. These fibers run downwards and backwards and laterally to get inserted at the medial surface of the angle and ramus of the mandible. The deeper head takes origin from the medial surface of lateral pterygoid plate and adjoining process of palatine bone. So this gets inserted below and behind mandibular foramen and mylohyoid groove. This is to show the different muscle places. Red color indicates the temporalis muscle, then blue color is the masseter, green color is the buccinator. And if you see some of the mandible that is cut and expose the medial pterygoid muscle and the insertion of the lateral pterygoid muscle. And what is the arterial, venous, and nerve supply for all these muscles? For the masseter muscle, it is a masseteric artery, masseteric vein, and masseteric nerve. For the temporalis, it is superficial temporal artery. Vein is a pterygoid venous plexus, and deep temporal nerves. Lateral pterygoid muscle, it is lateral pterygoid artery, maxillary vein, and lateral pterygoid nerve. Medial pterygoid, it is a medial pterygoid nerve, and retromandibular vein, then is a medial pterygoid nerve. Coming to the accessory muscles of mastication, these also will help the main masticatory muscles to perform the jaw movements. They are buccinator, digastric, geniohyoid, and mylohyoid. So buccinator, digastric, and geniohyoid will depress the mandible and elevate the hyoid bone. Mylohyoid will elevate the floor of the mouth during the first phase of swallowing and also depress the mandible. Functions of these muscles, temporalis will have a function of elevation and retraction. Masseter, medial pterygoid muscle will have the function of elevation and protrusion. Lateral pterygoid will have the functions of protrusion and depression. Mylohyoid will have a depressive function of the mandible, and digastric and geniohyoid will have the function of retraction and depression of the mandible. This is in another way. For the protrusion, lateral and medial pterygoid will help. For the retraction, temporalis, middle and deeper fibers of the masseter, digastric and geniohyoid muscles will help. For the elevation of the mandible, temporalis, masseter, median pterygoid of both sides will help. For the depression, lateral pterygoid muscle will help. Lateral movements, medial and lateral pterygoid both together can act to perform this function. Tongue, it is very important in the mastication. It plays an important role in speech, breathing, swallowing, and in the mastication. Positioning of the food between the occlusal surfaces of the tooth is the important function of this tongue, and it forms a bolus. Then transportation of this food within the oral cavity, then collecting and sorting the food that is suitable for the swallowing, then returning again the large pieces of food into the occlusal table for the further reduction, further breakdown of this food. So tongue plays a very vital role in mastication. So now coming to the exact topic, chewing cycle. Chewing is a cyclical process that is occurring at a rate determined by the central pattern generator in the brain, which programs the following phases. Those are preparatory phase, food contact phase, food chewing phase, and tooth contact phase. To understand the phases of chewing cycle, we must understand all the factors which we discussed previously. The chewing movement begins when the pattern generator initiates the jaw opening muscle to pull the mandible downwards from the rest or from the intercuspal position. If you see the picture A, that depicts the mandible is at rest. That is why both the tooth, mandibular molar and maxillary molar, are occluding with each other. Picture B depicts there is a pull down of mandible. That is why both the tooth are away from each other. Picture C, it depicts the jaw movement away from the working side. If you see the arrow marks that are there in each picture, that gives you an idea which way the mandible is moving. So initially, first after opening of the jaw, then it moves away from the working side. Then picture D depicts then it is moving towards the working side. Working side is nothing but the occlusion of the two molars. That is why the food can be present in between the occlusal tables and it can be chewed properly. Once the jaw is open, the pattern generator seizes the activity of the jaw opening muscles and activates the tongue and cheek muscles to position the food between the teeth. If the food is chewed in between the teeth, some of the food will be escaped from the occlusal portions to the buccal vestibule or into the oral cavity. If it is escaped into the buccal vestibule, that will be brought again to the occlusal portions by the cheek muscles. If it is into the oral cavity, then tongue will bring the food back into the occlusal portions. This cycle of movement continues without pause to the next phase. Next is food contact phase. As the pattern generator switches off the activation of jaw opening muscle, immediately it switches on the activity of the jaw closing muscle. So because of this jaw closing activation, the food gets contact from the upper and lower teeth. That's why it can be chewed. After this food contact phase, next phase is chewing phase. So food contact phase is maintained by the periodontal reflexes, which may assist in grasping the food in correct position between the teeth. Then food crushing phase. So because of the closing of the mandible by the influence of muscles, the food can be chewed properly or grinded properly to form a bolus. So after this grinding, the both in the resting phase, once again the jaw has to go for the resting phase. So for this, both the tooth will come in contact with each other, that is intercuspal position, they will come back. So the periodontal reflexes controls the jaw closing muscle and ensures that the teeth slide in correct direction towards the intercuspal position and thus grinds the food into paste. So how this mastication is controlled? I told in the beginning there are reflexes that are controlling the mastication. So these reflexes tunes the centrally generated masticatory movements and gives the best control of position and force under all different circumstances in which masticatory muscles function. There are three interconnected systems that are recognized to control the mastication. Brainstem pattern generator, afferent input to the brainstem pattern generator and higher centers in the brain that influence the pattern generator. Mechanism of these that modulates the jaw movements during chewing. So these reflexes signals the chewing muscles to adapt to the different types of foods and change the texture of the food. So those are muscle spindle reflex and periodontal reflex. The periodontal reflexes are present in the periodontal ligament space around the tooth. The muscle spindle reflexes have their own contractile system which will be controlled by the special class of motor nerves called gamma motor systems. The contractile parts of the spindles are at each end and are innervated by the gamma motor neurons, which contracts only at its ends. Sensory receptor lies in the muscle spindle, which is elastic and can be easily stretched. During the biting movement, jaw opening position, brain sends signals along the alpha motor neurons to the jaw closing muscles. So the muscle fibers shorten and move the tooth towards the food. Brain also sends signals along the gamma motor nerves to the muscle spindles to contract, and it shortens at the same rate as the main muscle fibers. But when the teeth come in contact with the hard food, the resistance to the closing increases and the muscle fibers stop shortening. But the brain continues to send signals to both the muscle spindles and muscle fibers. The muscle fibers cannot shorten, but the muscle spindles continue to shorten by stretching the elastic center. The signals activates the receptor in the center of the spindle. This produces more amount of action potential, and this will be sent through the alpha fibers to the brainstem that in turn activates the jaw closing motor neurons more strongly, and this activates the muscle fibers to contract strongly, which enables the teeth to bite through the hard food. Periodontal reflexes. These lie around the teeth in the periodontal ligament, gives rise to the subjective sensation about the pressure on the teeth and signal only relatively small forces. There are two different periodontal reflexes. Brisk tap on a teeth elicits a rapid and profound inhibition in the activity of jaw closing muscles. This we can self-examine. If there is a brisk tap or a hard tap on the teeth, we will not feel like closing the jaws. When the teeth snap briskly together, the reflex begins in the periodontal ligament receptors. It will travel by the sensory trigeminal nerves to enter the brainstem and continue to the trigeminal motor nucleus through the inhibitory interneurons, which inhibits the motor neurons of the jaw closing muscles and thus prevent the muscle contraction. Weak pressure excites the jaw closing motor neurons and thus increase the biting force. When the teeth come in contact to a soft food bolus during chewing, the periodontal receptors are activated and send signals to the trigeminal motor neurons in the same way, which activates the jaw closing muscles to contract a little more strongly to hold the bolus to be crushed between the teeth. The same reflex is likely to be important in guiding the teeth into occlusion back. Proprioception. This is the sense of position in space or for limbs, their positions relative to the other body structures. Free nerve endings that gives information concerning movements and position of the body. This helps the patient to detect the object between their teeth that are less than 20 micrometers thick. In masticatory system, the proprioception arises primarily from the muscle spindles in the jaw closing muscles and also the mechanoreceptors in the periodontal ligament of teeth that are in contact. Force of mastication. For the denture wearers, it is in between 75 to 140 newtons. For the dentulate individuals, it is 350 to 550 newtons. Well-fitting denture restores only a fraction of functional efficiency compared to the natural dentition because of the decrease in the maximal amount of force available to chew. Denture wearers need to chew the food 3 to 6 times more often than people with the normal teeth. The first device for measuring masticatory force is nathodynamometer, which was created by Dr. Bleck. Thank you very much.